God. See, it's been a long day. It's been a long day.
He just found out he's got no friends. So.
Yeah. Hi everyone and welcome to another edition of Ljubljana Talks. We are live here at IMEX 2023 and with Gorazd we have an amazing guest. So the conversation is going to be amazing as well. Brian Allen.
Yes.
Will you rock us?
I'm going to rock you.
Excellent, excellent.
Not only in June, right
Brian,
now.
you know, I've seen you perform at the ICA Congress this year in Krakow. Yeah, it was last year, yeah. But it was just a couple of months ago. It was an amazing, emotional, and such a powerful experience that I think everybody was so invigorated by the power of what you do, as on one side by your regular program, and then of course the special surprise connected with, you know, all the kids that you brought up there. I don't know how much I can say about these things, but it
You're
was
doing well. Keep talking, my son. Keep talking.
There you go. It was really, really good, really emotional, and you know, tell us what's going on with you and everything.
Well, I need to speak to your video guy after, and I need that quote for future usage because he put it so amazing.
We will cut it out.
That was a paid advertisement. I love Ljubljana.
Were we paid for that?
Yeah.
That's something new.
There's a new business model. Yes, I will endorse your brand. How much you got? Thank you very much. Firstly, it was a pleasure, and I got to meet you in Krakow as well. We are in the meetings industry, and that's what we do. We meet each other and make the world a better place, step by step. ICA was an incredible experience for me, probably the most incredible experience I've had in my life until I energized the World Ice Hockey Championships 2 weeks ago in Tampere. But apart from that, yeah, the ICA one was on an emotional level, was the most emotional moment of my life. Ian Bittran, my crazy Manchester United fan, and Arve Lindgren from Visit Bergen lobbied ICA and said, you need to have this guy in Krakow. That's how the story happened, because he does something unique and he's got a great story. And somehow ICA said yes, and the next minute I'm on stage in front of 850 people from over 100 countries, making them sing like a choir. And then I did the keynote presentation at the end, and it was just, I think, because I knew there was 120 kids backstage and nobody in the audience knew, it was such an incredible moment that I just kept thinking to myself, they have no idea. They have no idea what's coming. And I have this really bad habit of not looking at the speaker clock because, you know, I don't know why, but power speaking is something new for me, and I keep forgetting you're supposed to look at the clock, so I almost always run over. And the lady that was running the stage was really a typical ICA, you know,
employee.
Got to be. I understand her. That's her job. And I looked down, and I saw, oh my God, I haven't even brought the kids out yet, and I'm done. And I'm thinking, it's the final day. I think they're going to remember what's just about to happen. I think they can't stop me, so I'm just going to keep going. If you remember. So I took the guitar and I said, everybody, I would like you to sing with the children in solidarity with them. Can you just sing the chorus of this song? Stand up and be counted. Stand as one united. Stand up for humanity. ICA, stand up. And they were kind of average, to be honest. They were tired after 3-4 days. And I said, well, that was kind of cool, but, you know, can we do something a little bit? I think you need a little bit of help. And I think the next moment will live in everybody's memory for life.
It was one moment that I think made that Congress, not just because it was the first live Congress and all this, but it was such an impactful moment and the message was so strong. And I mean, the whole program you've done with what was happening in Ukraine, the response with talking to the kids and engaging the kids, you know, through the singing and the workshops. I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
Are you still doing this?
Yes, I am. But I have to give you my favorite moment of that day. One was the the gentleman who's the vice president of ICA, he said to me it was the best moment of the entire conference right after it.
Really?
Yes. Cenotaph? I don't know. And that was quite touching for me. But this Polish guy, he just killed me. He was a really typical Slavic man, you know, and he's like, Brian, you know, when you ask everybody to say thank you to the people of Poland who helped the Ukrainian children and the people, I get lump in my throat, you know. And then you play this video of your project for last 9 months going around Poland helping these children. I got 2 lumps in my throat, you know. But I'm a strong Polish guy and I control myself, you know. And then you brought out the children. That was it. And this moment, when the kids come out hand in hand, and the smallest kids were first. And I think everybody was like, oh, there's a couple of children, and they just kept coming and coming and coming. Then I asked everybody to get out of your seats, come down here and enjoy this moment with the children. This is for me what conferences should be about. And when you're making a conference, I was energizing young leaders today here for IMEX, and I told these budding event people, feel is the hardest thing to put into a conference. The hotel, the pillows, the napkins, the food choices, the political correctness, this is bread and butter. The hardest thing to put into a conference is to make them feel. And it's the only thing they remember. You know?
Look, I believe music is universal language. Everybody understands.
The only one.
Also the events. This is what I believe. So what can you say about it? The church is expert in that, you know? They're doing that show for ages. So basically, they know how to bring emotions. Yeah?
The church was very smart. They tapped into the biggest spiritual, social element to humanity, and they used it to their advantage. I actually have a keynote presentation all about that, about the role of music throughout history and business, and how from the days of the cavemen and cavewomen, we were sitting around a campfire. You remember, Ika? And you're sitting around a campfire.
So that's the beginning of our industry.
The first job was a meeting planner. When you think about humanity,
He was the guy starting the fire.
or it might have been a girl.
What's going to be the setup? What's going to be the setup? Oh, we're going to do it here.
Yeah, that's it. We're going to do it here, and we have 6, 7, 8, 9 stones. We need another stone. Okay, and what are we going to eat? Catering. Right? Catering. Go get some fish. Go get some fish. And we need some security. You get some logs. Okay, now what else do we need? And music.
I'm pretty sure when they went to the other village, you know, for a festival, the same guy was like, well, but the berries weren't that good.
They didn't ferment long enough. I have a headache, but I didn't get
better.
the bug.
If it was me, it would be different.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's actually
Brian, what kind of music do you listen to, actually, privately?
anything that moves me.
Okay.
If I'm doing fitness, I like pumping music, you know, to give you the energy. There's an incredible book you should buy called The World in 6 Songs, and the author's a neurological, I hate that word, I can say it better in Polish, neurolog. He's a neurolog. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Neurologist, that's it. And he's also a musician, and he talks about the effect that music has on our brain, and it's incredible. And one of the things that he says is, when you're sad, you should listen to sad songs. And I was reading this book going, what? He goes, because it makes you feel better because you realize that somebody else has felt the way you're feeling. And I thought, well, that's an interesting way to put it, that you're not alone, it's somebody else. Music, rock, basically. I like soft melodic rock. Yeah. Anything, actually. But now I'm really, this experience with these children has really opened up Pandora's box for me. Because now I just did the choir at the World Ice Hockey Championships. We did the choir at...
Did you bring the kids? The kids were local, or did you bring the kids from...
Well, this is a crazy idea. You know, first, this happened 2.5 months ago. Random, Stephanie just met a lady called Anne from Tampere. And she was at ICA. And she says, I love what you do. Can I get you into the Finnish market to energize conferences? Would you be interested? And I said, of course. And then she said, by the way, the World Ice Hockey Championships are coming here. co-hosted by Riga and by Tampere. Would you be interested in energizing the arena, 13,000 people? And I said, you're on drugs. You should change the dosage or change your dealer. Are you crazy? I know how organized Finnish people are. This has to be extremely organized. A week later, I was speaking to the Finnish Ice Hockey Federation, and I made a joke during the conversation, because we were just talking about me doing my normal Brian show. And I said, well, you know, I do a lot of stuff with kids, and we have one format where when we're doing conferences, we teach them how to sing like a choir first, and then we rent old school buses, and then we take that conference on a bus and go around all the famous landmarks. Then we jump off the bus and make a flash mob. So you combine tourism with team building. So they get the incredible spiritual experience, but then they get out of the conference room. They get out of that stuffy room, they get some fresh air, and they go see the city. At the same time, they're bonding with their fellow people, and they're creating incredible memories. And he goes, oh, I love that. So he said, we have 16 teams participate. We could take 8 kids from Riga, 8 kids from Tampere. I said, yeah, then they can go to the ice and sing. And he's like, okay, let's do it. And I went, okay, so we need a song like We Are the World or something, you know, for them to sing. And he said, yeah. And I was just joking again. I said, you know, I'm a songwriter. I could just write a song for you. And he goes, okay. And I went, what? What? We have 2 people on drugs on this call. Finland is going downhill. And then he said, yes. I said, what's your slogan? He said, we live the game. We live the game. We live the game. Okay. And a couple of days later, I was sitting with my daughter, and she said, Daddy, have you wrote the song yet? And I said, no, your daddy only writes sad songs, and you know, there's more depressed people in the world, darling, than there is happy, so your daddy's on to a winner here. I write love me songs, or I'm going to die without you songs. And she said, but Daddy, come on, you can do it. She goes, what's the slogan? I said, we live the game. She went, we live the game. I went, do that again. She goes, we live the game. I went, oh, we live the game, party people everywhere. We live the game, put your hands up in the air. We live the game in the blood, pumping through our veins. We live the game, live the game, live the game.
Top, bravo.
Just as quick as that, I did it right now. And she said to me, did you just make that up? I went, yeah. She goes, Daddy, you just wrote your first happy song.
Can you repeat this, Jan? Can you repeat this song? No.
He will. It's playing in your country right now. So, yeah. So, and then the kids came with me to Nokia Arena, and I performed in front of 13,000 people with the kids.
Wow.
And I just, the children had a memory that they will never forget for the rest of their lives. And it was like I said at ICA, I challenge everybody here to involve local communities in your events. Some way, engage them. Don't just put them in an auditorium and just get somebody on the stage. This is the same as Shakespeare times. This is what we did during William Shakespeare. Let's get interactive with everybody and find ways to engage the local community, give the kids an incredible experience, give the people who's attending your conference an amazing experience, and find a way to, when you leave there, you're taking a memory away with you that you'll never forget. And I think that's the goal of every PCO, to create that conference environment where at ICA, this American gentleman said to me, goes, you said on your passion comes from changing people's lives, at least 1% during your choir sessions. He goes, well, I'll tell you what I'm taking away today. I'm taking away this memory.
The old slogan of MPI was when we meet, we change the world, you know, so that was the old slogan, and it's true, actually. Yeah, definitely. But what kind of clients do you reject?
Oh, that's a great question. What kind of clients do I reject? Well, when you're 51 years old and you're Scottish and you're a Scorpio, I kind of, you get to this beautiful moment in your life where you don't work with people you don't like. So you just, if work is not fun for me, I won't do it. I don't care how much they're paying me. I would rather put a positive spin in it. What kind of people do I like working with? I like working with people who question everything, with the goal in mind to rip it apart and build it up better. It's in a great book called Think Again by Adam Grant. It's one of the best books I ever read. And he said the biggest skill that we have is unlearning what we are pre-programmed to learn. Find friends that don't agree with you. Find people that have a different opinion from you, because that's the way that you can make ideas great. You can have a good idea, but you can make it great. You can't make great ideas if everybody around you says, yes, yes,
so
yes.
How different was the experience of, you know, doing the thing in Poland and then doing similar thing now in Tampere, and you've obviously done it quite a few times. How do you see it being different, not just audience-wise, but organization-wise, sentiment-wise? How do you prepare to get in front of a different audience? Because hockey fans are a different audience than the ICA, General Assembly, crowd.
Another great question. I don't know. Actually, I waited for that moment for 51 years of my life, and when I was standing at the top of the staircase and the drum started on the song, and the next minute the song was finished, and I went to the VIP, and my friends were like, "How do you feel?" And I said, "Have you ever felt like you were in a movie and you were just playing a role? I just feel this is just part of my life."
So it's like an autopilot.
I don't. I've been making concerts for 30 years of my life, and every time somebody says to me after my concert, "Wow, when you sang song number 5, it was amazing," or whatever, and I'm like, "What was song number 5?" And they're like, "Really?" I went, if I'm doing my choir workshops, if I'm doing a concert, I'm so into the audience, which is why I went from singing to making rock your business, when I decided I'm going to make people feel like rock stars and not me. Because I've always done that. Even when I was in concert, I would bring the music down and get the people to engage with me and say, "This is your concert. I know how I sing. I want you to get engaged and really enjoy it." And I would make the crowd sing like Freddie Mercury. I would make the crowd sing with me.
But you really respect the audience. This is what I feel now, This is, to me, important. Also, as an organizer, you need to respect the audience really, deeply. You need to understand what they are expecting from you.
Because
it's all about them.
Yeah, it's all about them.
In our line of work, we do not focus on the audience that much, because in a rock concert, you will focus on the audience and the experience.
100%.
But when you have a congress, everybody's just about the content, and the person presenting can be a top expert on something, but it can be boring as hell, and nobody really deals with the engagement.
That's why you have me.
Oh, there you go.
Because that's what I do. And it's the best compliment somebody ever gave me was that I'm authentic. Because as you just said, I truly, truly love people. And every workshop, every concert, every conference, I go in with I just can't wait to meet them. I can't wait to look at them and think, they are looking right now, they're bored out of their heads. No matter how great the speaker is, it's generally quite boring. And I can't wait to get out there and wake them up, make them stand up, make them meet other people around them, make them feel emotions, make them sing their heads off, and make them stand there and go, "What on earth was that?" Because an expression I love in English is, the goal of any PCO is to make their customer become an ambassador for their brand. In any business. That is why customer service is so important and audiences are so important. You want to make sure every single person in the audience goes, "I just saw the most incredible conference put on by these guys I ever saw in my life," because this industry is very small and other people will talk about you and they will hear about you and they'll say, "You know what, you're going to Ljubljana or you're thinking about that region of the world, you need to speak to Jan and you need to go, they're doing really amazing things." "Oh yeah, tell me what is amazing about it," because it's not the hotel, it's not that everybody has that. What is it? Their attention to detail and their customer satisfaction of every single attendee matters. Every single attendee coming in matters, and more just than their dietary needs and stuff like this. We care about every single attendee when they're here, and we try to go above and beyond whatever the client wants to make sure everyone walks out of here super happy, incredible experience, and are going to tell people now, you need to work with these guys.
That's a quote that we can take out of that.
You can take that.
There you go. It's a barter.
Am I
It's a
wrong,
barter.
Stephanie? Am I wrong? As a PCO, that's what you're looking for, right? I mean, you really want to work with guys that listen to you and go.
I figured out what kind of conferences you prefer to work with.
Go on in.
Really boring ones.
Yes.
Because then you're a really good
Yes.
contrast.
Actually, it was a technique of Elvis Presley's manager. When Elvis, I'm a huge Elvis fan, and when Elvis was first starting out in the 1950s, his manager on purpose used to hire terrible opening acts. One-handed jugglers, terrible comedians, and because by the time Elvis came on, they were like, "Oh my God!" And talking of Elvis, I'll give you one great story. I forgot to tell it at ICA. When Elvis was starting his career, and before, it's different from the way it happened in a movie, but that's a Hollywood movie. What really happened was Colonel Tom Parker booked Elvis to play in a hotel bar, old school American Midwest in the middle of nowhere, 3 hours from Memphis. He knew it was going to be raining. Elvis and his three-piece band drove all the way to this hotel. He knew there'd be nobody there because it was raining. Elvis walks in, there's like 12 people in this little bar. Bar fits about 80. There's 12. It's all arranged. The bartender says to Elvis, "Son, I'm really sorry, but you can see there's not a lot of people here tonight, so I'm not going to be able to pay you." And Elvis took one look around the room and he said, "Well, sir, if these good folks came out to hear me tonight, you don't need to bother paying us, we'll play." And he got on stage and he played for 4 hours for 12 people because they came to hear him sing. He came off and Colonel Tom Parker said, "Now that attitude I can manage."
That's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
That attitude I can manage.
We usually finish off with a couple of short ones, but not drinks.
Yeah. Short
But we're
questions.
gonna cover
Go on
short
then.
questions. Okay, so rock or choir?
Choir.
Anything that would you elaborate on that?
You asked me if I like rock or choir?
Yeah,
Rock and choir.
a rock and choir. Okay,
Cool.
okay.
A choir who rocks.
There we go.
Stupid one. Digital events, live events.
Live.
Okay. Mountains or the sea?
Ooh, mountains.
Beer or wine or whiskey?
Oh, Jesus. Is this a test before I come to Ljubljana in 2 weeks? Are we making up my dietary list? And wine, beer or whiskey, what would you say, Brian?
Water.
Say something about alcohol.
Gin and tonic.
There you go. Excellent, excellent.
I would like to say one thing, and it's not, I'm pitching because this young lady's here, but working with the kids, the reason that I would advise you to do this is not just, we met and I know you and I know you're a lovely human being, I know this already, but
He's a rock star, you know.
I know, but he doesn't know your home city too well, but we could discuss that, and, you know. But I think when I was originally asked to go to San Francisco MPI to do a keynote presentation on how to use our passion to help others. And normally my keynotes are about Freddie Mercury or ABBA. I actually had to do research because I went, okay, I'm going to go there and talk about how we use our passion to help other people. What is passion? Wow. And then the Google definition of passion means to suffer. And I was like, what? Passion means suffer? Then I thought about it, the Passion of the Christ, the movie. Okay. The second definition of passion means to have an unstoppable emotional reaction to something that you must act upon. And I was like, wow. And that's when we become passionate. So I asked the audience, are you passionate about your job? Are you passionate about sports, shopping, driving, whatever? There's a reason. You're not. You like it. You don't, or you might love it, but you're not passionate about it. Because this is not passion. Passion is when you have an unstoppable emotional reaction to something that you must act upon. And that comes from when we see people in trouble, when we see people in need, when our beautiful human souls go, I need to do something about this. And not money or stuff like this can be. I'm talking about our time and our brains and our hearts going, how can we do what I did in ICA? We can do this at every conference. Maybe not with the Ukrainian team, but we can find a way to, and there's a deeper meaning for this, because the why I do it is because depression is the #1 thing in the world today. Mental health, depression. And I know when we're doing our workshops at the conferences, I know there's people there that are depressed. Statistically, there has to be. Statistically, there has to be. And I'm looking out at the audience, and we cure depression by meeting, which is why we're in the most beautiful industry in the world. This is the #1 thing. Depression comes from boredom and isolation. Meeting, having a project that's higher than ourselves that helps others, whatever it may be, we feel good about ourselves now, we don't feel so depressed, and working in groups. This is the 3 ways to help ease depression. And it's that simple. Working in groups, having something higher than yourself, and doing it.
Now you have a definition for so-called regenerative concept of tourism. Man. This is what you are developing in Ljubljana. This is a formula.
Because what you just brought up is such an important part of our ecosystem, but we don't talk about it a lot. So we've touched on so many subjects, but I think that's a completely different story that we might follow up on in a different edition of Ljubljana Talks, though. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. It's great. Thanks a lot.
I know you had more questions, but I...
No worries. It's always improv.
We just kind of wing it, you know.
But this is true about the profession.
It's true, because nobody's
And
talking.
finding a way to make people come, you know. And I love this, turning your customers into ambassadors for your brand.
Look, you know, the word for meetings in Slovenia is sreća. In the word itself, it's happiness. So I used to say that what we are doing is bringing happiness to the people. It's so simple at the end of the day, you know?
Hi everybody and welcome back to the Ljubljana Talks show at IMEX 2023 in Frankfurt. This is the grand finale of our talks and I have a special guest here, Pigalle Tavakoli. She comes from London with a very interesting background. But let me start this conversation with a short question. How would you describe experience design in 3 words?
Well, that's an excellent question because there's a lot of confusion about what experience design is. And it's equally a challenge to capture an explanation in 3 words. So I'll do my best.
Okay.
So the first word I like to focus on is experience. So when normally we're designing events, products or services, we're very focused on designing those aspects. However, in experience design, we design not only the events, products and service, but we also design the interaction, the experience you have from those items, those elements. So we're actually interested in the whole journey that the customer or audience makes and the experience that they get from those products, events, services. So that leads me to my second word, which is internal. So normally with those products and services, they're all on the outside, they're on the external side of the audience. And what we're doing is by designing an experience, we're trying to reach the internal world of the audience. Because once we reach the internal world, then they will have internal changes within them. Hello,
Hi.
Lovely to meet you.
Jan, hi. Nice
Hi Jan, lovely to meet you.
Welcome to Ljubljana Talks. I'll just keep on going.
We just opened the first question, yeah? I will repeat this. How to describe experience design if you can use only 3 words. And it's a really interesting intro. So maybe, no, you will not repeat, just go on. Jan will jump into the conversation, okay.
So with experience design, what we're interested in is not just designing those elements on the external world, but we're actually using them as the tools to reach the internal world of the audience. Because what we're trying to affect is 3 types of changes. So we can change the way the audience feels, the way they think, and the way they behave. So we're not just designing the external, we're actually designing to reach the internal. And then my third word would be transformation. So once we've designed an experience that creates these internal changes, the long-term impact is that people will be changed forever. Now that can be a small transformation, that can be a large transformation, but they essentially should be changed from the moment they've experienced those external elements, long after that interaction has finished. So for me, that would be how I would describe experience design, which is a challenge in 3 words.
But it's beautiful. I love it, and it really says everything about what we discussed today for almost whole day. Even the last talk was about that, actually. It was a little bit more straightforward in a way that there was a colleague of us, who is doing these rock things, but it was exactly the same. How to change this internal behavior of participants.
It really is about making a difference, making a different kind of an experience so that it's memorable. Because only then it actually achieves the desired goal.
Well, actually, my talk tomorrow is about the art and science of designing emotions, and I unpack the way the brain processes emotions. And it takes place in the amygdala part of our brain, which sits right next to the hippocampus. And the hippocampus is where memories are formed. So there is this symbiotic relationship between memories and emotions. So once we can understand how they work, and I also go into the neuroscience of consciousness, which then gives us that extra layer to understanding emotions. So we can then move to designing emotions not just intuitively, but actually very intentionally. So when I design experiences, I completely plan which emotions, what type of emotional journey do I want to take the audience on. And then I've created methods and tools to be able to specifically design for that. But the reason I can do that is having understood the science behind it, and then the science behind it I understand because I worked 15 years with scientists, and I'm a specialist in bringing artists and scientists together. So as a producer, I first learned by observing my audiences and seeing these incredible emotions that they were expressing on their face, and then they were telling me that their lives were changed forever. And so I went on a journey to find out, well, how is it that I do what I do, and how can I translate that into something that others can use so they can achieve the same impact as well?
Well, one thing comes to my mind is nostalgia, you know, where is stored in the brains, a nostalgia feeling, you know. We try to create nostalgia quite often with events, you know. What is your opinion about it? Or this is totally wrong what I'm saying now?
Oh, there's no wrong and right in anything. I like it's all the shades of grey in between that makes life interesting, and that's where all the fascinating things happen. So nostalgia is an emotion, and it's absolutely linked to memory. So when you're designing for nostalgia, you really need to know your audience to know what aspects will be nostalgic for them. What kind of memories do they have? What is their background? And then you can design aspects within the experience or the product or the service that then acts as prompts and triggers for them to recall their memories. And then when we recall our memories, it activates the chemicals in our brain to send the signals to our body to feel the same emotions we had at that moment in time when that memory formed. So actually with emotions, it starts in the brain, but the chemicals go through our body, send messages to our muscles, and we have a whole physiological effect. So it can be that either the emotion creates a memory or a memory recalls the emotions. And because they live together in the brain, they have this really, really close relationship together.
Amazing. What should we stop doing at live events, in your opinion? What is wrong with our approach to live events?
So I like to be non-binary. I prefer to be about all the shades in between, and there's lots of things people are doing with live events that works perfectly for them, and there's space for all types of ways of approaches. And I guess it would be to do with the target audience. So for any event, it depends on their target audience and the kind of impact they want to bring about with them. So certain audiences may have a need to experience things that are more cutting edge, or that provide more insights for them, or activate their imagination, or stimulate thought provocations, or they're looking for meaning or purpose. So those kind of values, that's where experience design will become valuable. Or it could be something where it's a sales event and they're looking to get audience retention and they're looking to get deeper engagement. And that's where experience design will come in and help them as well.
So we've been talking about meetings architecture for a long time in the industry. How do you see, I mean, you know, there's so many elements that one can actually bring into the mixture. You know, it can be the sound, it can be the smell, it can be the layout. Is there a combination, or is there a format that you think actually works really, really well, or a format that would surprise you how well it actually works?
So Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I love the word that you mentioned, tool. So all those external elements that you described are a whole range of tools in our wonderful toolkit as experienced designers. And we could use any or none of them. So what matters is our intention. What matters is to first work out what are the aims of the experience, what is the impact, internal changes, long-term transformation that we want to achieve. And once we have those, we have a strategy through which to ideate and formulate which platforms, which tools, which technology, because then we are informed which one is most powerful to achieve the aims and impact that we want. So with experience design, the design process starts the other way around. So rather than thinking about the ideas, I take people a few steps before that, and once we work out the aim, strategy and the audience impact we want, then the ideation becomes much easier. And I like to describe it like a bow and arrow. So normally you design and then you cross your fingers, and through intuition you hope that your arrow randomly shooting into the forest is going to reach the tree that you want. However, if you take the time to research your audience, psychographics, their deeper motivations, then you're pulling your arrow back and you're loading it with as much targeted information as you can. So by the time you release it, it's much more likely to go directly into the hearts and minds of your audience and achieve a greater success.
So do you get, when you're working with, let's say, an event organizer, would event organizer have sufficient knowledge about their audience, usually?
Usually no.
Okay.
There is a big disconnect between what people think they know about their audience and the reality of what their audience actually needs and wants. And so I often work with them with a very handy tool to, it's like there's a gap between them, and there is a tool to bridge that gap and unite them in a shared common interest. Because the other thing is there's the stakeholders, the funders, the clients. So it's about actually finding out the real needs and desires and motivations, and then finding the central thing that unites all of them. And I call that the central narrative. And once you have that central narrative, you have a basis from which to design the experience, which will reach all of them equally.
How, in case that the conference organizer does not have the right idea, right? How do you test the hypothesis about the audience, and how would you get the information if perhaps the organizer doesn't have it?
So there are a range of methods to carry out audience research, and no one is in an ideal situation. Everyone has time pressure, resource pressure, financial pressure, targets, KPIs, ROIs, eyes coming out of our eyeballs. So I understand that, and I come from an event production background, 15 years as a producer, so I completely understand all the pressures. And I think that's really helpful because I understand the situation they're in. So what I can do is guide them through a range of methods to capture audience research, and then work with them on what's realistic, what can they realistically do right here, right now, to help elevate what they're doing within the scale that they can manage. And I also believe in small wins. So I think, rather than sort of upending everything the way somebody might be working, what they need is some small tools, some small methods that they can get some small improvements. And once they've seen sign of success, then they become more confident and encouraged to think, well, next time I'd like to try another method that might need a bit more time, but I know that it will bring better results.
You're doing it right.
It depends on some people want to scale from A to F straight away, but most people can't, and it's not possible. And so I don't want them to feel that they can't go down this path. And I also believe in getting results and measuring results. And so I feel like once people have tried a few things, they come back to me and they're like, oh my God, it totally worked, we want more. And so I want to help hold people's hand so that they're then empowered to carry on and take the steps themselves. I mean, it sounds very abstract the way that I say it, but it's because also with what I do, a lot of people think, oh, it's very airy-fairy, it's very creative, it's all about ideation and fanciful things, but actually it's very rooted in being strategic, constructive, practical, applicable.
Because it's science-based, right?
Yes, it's science-based, but even before that, it's practical-based, because I was a producer and then I was working with scientists, and so I like to say that I walked the walk before I talk the talk, and I think that's really important, because sometimes people are just, in the world of academia as a researcher, sometimes people are mainly hands-on being a producer and don't have time to reflect on what they're doing. And I've had the fortune to be both a producer, a teacher, a trainer, and working with scientists. So I've been in a unique position to draw on all of these to then formulate insights that can be tried and tested. So it's been a journey. It's been 15 years, so it didn't happen yesterday.
Yeah, but how actually you recognize a boring event, and what do you suggest to such an organizer? If you are in the middle of a boring event, what would you say to somebody who is organizing that? How to approach such a person who is 100% sure that this is the best what he can deliver or organize? Yeah.
So I would say, from my perspective, it's also about know your clients.
Yeah.
So if somebody doesn't feel they need me, then they don't need me. If they perceive that everything is fine and their balance sheet is balancing, then they don't need me. But if their balance sheet is getting lower and lower and attendance is falling off, then at some point they might feel, okay, we need to examine this further. And at that point, I'm happy to take them on a journey to look deeper at what is going on. Why are these numbers falling? Where is it you want the numbers to increase? What is the audience you're trying to engage? And then take them on a journey of understanding where that loss of customer base has come from. How is the current trends, the landscape, demands, needs changing, and then what have they uniquely got that they can then expand and develop further to recapture and reposition themselves and move forward. But it's a conversation. I'm very much not the sort of person that parachutes in, blows up everything they've done, says that I'm right, you need to all listen to me. It's much more that I like to listen to them, so that I have the benefit of being an outside person that can be helpful to gather together the pieces of the puzzles that I ask them about and they describe to me, and then I present a picture back to them and I say, does this resonate? Does this feel right? And together in a conversation we collaborate, and then I can start to identify the gaps and then provide the training that's directly relevant to fill those gaps and fulfill the needs and targets that they are looking for.
Who would be your typical clients, if there is a typical client that you work with?
To be honest, it can be anyone, because for me, it doesn't matter the event, product or service. Because what I'm doing is bringing in a mindset, an approach, a way of thinking that's then backed up with methods and a process. And you can apply it to somebody selling a wonderful apple, someone selling technology with the microphones, someone building venues, architects. And I know that it works because I've been teaching for 10 years and training. And so I've seen that it works and it can be applied. So yeah. So no typical client, actually.
No typical client.
Actually,
That's
no.
very interesting.
No.
I'm pretty sure that there's going to be people watching this and saying, oh, can I actually apply this to my event or to my company or to my product? That's why I'm asking, because sometimes certain solutions are more applicable to certain populations or certain projects?
So this actually this is a great question, and it really feeds into how another thing I like to describe experience design as an approach and a way of thinking. And once you click into that, every design discipline, you can apply it across the board. And when I've been teaching experience design at the University of the Arts in London, I've had people who have been working in the government who have come to study the courses. I've had architects, interior designers, I've had product designers, brand managers, communications managers, I mean, also artists, curators, I mean, anyone and everyone. In the beginning, we had UX designers because people often think it's UX. And I explain it's actually a bit more than that. UX comes in afterwards, and then they all go away really delighted because they can all apply it to exactly their field of work. And that's the thing, because of being a producer, I'm really passionate that everything is applicable and it can cope with the realities of the pressures of all of our jobs as well.
I've been infected by the passion. I can feel it, like you're really, you're doing something that you can see makes a difference, and this is beautiful to see, because we work in an industry that is so driven by passion and trust, and basically this kind of additional tools can help us be a better industry.
And I think the key thing here as well is I'm trying to empower others with the methods and tools that they can then go on to shape and use in their own way, so they become their own experience designers. It's a big enough world for everybody to manifest it in their own unique way, and that's what makes the field so interesting, so diverse, and that's how innovation comes, from multiple perspectives, multiple ways of working, and it becomes this virtuous, enriching cycle that continues as this loop. And so I'm just happy to play a part in seeding this. And the great thing, I mean, the thing that I love about teaching for the last 10 years is I've seen the cohorts go on to all their different parts of the world and seen them go up the ladder, and the influence they've then had in their departments, in their countries, in their cities. I mean, they've all gone on to amazing, amazing things. I'm in touch with many of them. I follow them. And then when I get to travel, I get to meet them all in their countries as well. So yeah. So empowering people to do it themselves is very important to me as well.
Well, we are coming close to the end of this talk, but of course Pigalle will come to Slovenia soon. She's our guest at Conventa Cross Hour conference, which will take place at the end of August. So we are looking forward for this for bigger discussion with you in Ljubljana.
We have some applications already, that
yes. Yeah, and
some taste of what you're talking about. I would be very excited about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But usually we finish with actually short questions to you. So Jan, what is your first question?
I'll try and give you short answers.
Good.
As you can see,
Good.
I love to talk.
But it's very easy. Sea or the mountains?
The sea in summer and the mountains in winter. If I can cheat. I had to think about that because I love both.
Dog or cat?
I'm allergic to both.
Okay, cool.
But I love cats, but they make me very ill.
Wow.
But I absolutely love them. So
One
cats.
more from Jan.
Do you prefer night or day?
I'm very philosophical about the meaning of night and day. That's a hard question for me. Because the realm of sleep and lucid dreaming, I'm very passionate. You know, I've done a lot of studies and research and work around as well as a realm of consciousness. Because I see things as different realms of consciousness, and being asleep in Tibetan Buddhism is considered being more awake than our awake state. So I actually see a benefit to both sides. So I'll be non-binary with that as well.
Okay, it's a good
Once again, that people will remember our discussion. 3 words are about experience design.
Experience,
Okay.
internal world for transformation.
Remember that.
Thanks
for watching us, and stay tuned to Ljubljana Talks.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a
Welcome.
pleasure.